So here's what Charles Barkley said about Kevin Durant.
Before KD gets that great respect from all the old heads, he's going to have to win a championship as the bus driver. Listen, he joined that team had already won a championship, so no disrespect. That's just a fact. The old guys like myself, hey, KD's an all-time hell of a player, but until he is the guy on a championship team, we're not going to ever give him the respect, that he probably deserves. And that's just the way it is. And like I say, the game hasn't changed. Kobe said it. LeBron said it. And so we're going to hold him to the same high standards. Kevin Durant, one of the best players we've ever had. But when he's been the leader of a team, when he has to lead a group of men, he has not been able to finish the journey. And listen, no disrespect, we're going to always hold that against him.
Okay. So are we going to hold it against him that Ben Simmons never played and was hurt, and so was half their team, and James Harden came in out of shape and they got rid of him, didn't want to play, got rid of him? Or the year before that James Harden was hurt, or that Kyrie got hurt? Like, are we doing that too? It makes no sense. My brain might not work correctly, but I remember when he left for the Warriors 2016. So 2017, I was actually at Game 1. I actually had a friend who I flew up with, and I went to Game 1. And that court had LeBron James. That court had Kevin Love. That court had Kyrie Irving, Steph Curry, and Klay Thompson, and Kevin Durant. And the best player that night and the best player in that series was Kevin Durant. And then the next year they did it again, and there was no Kyrie Irving. And do you know who the best player in the court was? Kevin Durant. And then the next year they played Toronto, and the Warriors were struggling, and then all of a sudden for one half, somebody played for the Warriors that then tore his Achilles tendon, and he was the best player on the court. And who was that? It was Kevin Durant. Like, this stuff, why do we do this? I love Charles, but it's like the young guys don't like the old guys don't like the young guys. And I understand, like, we do this thing where, they had won a championship. Like, okay, if we're telling the whole tale, they won the championship against the Cavs, who didn't have Kevin Love. Remember, he got hurt previously in the playoffs, and Kyrie got hurt right before overtime. I thought it was right before overtime of Game 1. So they won in 6 games. Right? Remember that? Okay. In addition to which, every team the Warriors played on that path to a championship, had a major injury at the point guard position and missed at least 2 starts of the series. That happened. Now, it doesn't mean that we have to take back their championships or put up an asterisk, but that actually happened. The next year, they won 73 regular season games. Who cares? They didn't win a championship. And, by the way, they changed their composition to go with Kevin Durant because Harrison Barnes' contract was up. He was a free agent. They had to make some decisions, and their decision was to go after the big piece. And it worked. They had a better starting lineup and a weaker bench. But I don't know how we got into this place where all of a sudden now Kevin Durant, he wasn't the bus driver. Like, well, what was he when he was the finals MVP? Don't understand that. Buke, what do you make of the Kyrie Irving story?
I make out that the Brooklyn Nets want to let everybody know that they are open and available for moving Kyrie Irving if they can find a deal. That the impasse is over Kyrie wanting a long-term deal and the Brooklyn Nets not willing to hitch their wagon to him long-term. And so if that's not the case, then a deal might need to be made. But from going back to Sean Marks's post-season press conference, it's been clear that the Brooklyn Nets are trying to regain control of their franchise and be the ones in charge. And in order to do that, they need Kyrie on a shorter long-term contract, and heard all sorts of things about how that affects Kevin Durant. But for now, when it comes to Kyrie, every indication is they're not opposed to having Kyrie back, but they want it on their terms. And if that's not going to be the case, then they might have to do something else.
Right, retaking ownership of their team. Is that fair?
Correct. Exactly.
What happens? I understand I understand we're guessing, but you have a ton of insight into your guesses.
Yeah, look, I would not be surprised if ultimately they moved him. And the big question is going to be, if they move him, does Kevin Durant then say, I want out too? And are you starting from scratch as the Brooklyn Nets? That's the thing I don't know, but I also don't know either way. And I know that there's a possibility of both. The Kevin Durant would say, okay, if you're moving off Kyrie, if you're not willing to give Kyrie a max, my understanding is KD is not going to look at it and say, I understand why you're not giving Kyrie the max. KD is more likely to tell Kyrie, no, you deserve the max. Like, hold out for that. And if the Nets are not willing to give it, then that's going to create a problem between KD and the Nets. And so we'll see where this goes. I mean, ultimately, the biggest question is, if the Nets aren't going to give it to him, I don't know who will. I don't know if there's a team out there that says we're willing.
There are two.
Team that
there are two.
Kyrie would be willing to go to.
There are two.
And they are
those teams that were mentioned. And this
no.
Knicks
aren't going to do it.
You don't think they're You don't think they're desperate enough to get a Kyrie Irving? You don't think the Lakers are absolutely desperate enough to try and fix this LeBron thing? I think you have to.
Yeah, but how do you get it? Like, if you have your choices, if you're the Brooklyn Nets, I see it more likely that he would go to the Dallas Mavericks than to the Lakers or the Knicks in a sign and trade with Jalen Brunson. Like, that to me, at least.
They're going to play with how many basketballs are they going to play with?
KD and Kyrie and James Harden played together.
How'd that work out?
Okay, well, this is why I believe the Dallas Mavericks thing at least has a chance to work. Because if Kyrie's going to listen to anybody, it's Jason Kidd. Nico Harrison, the GM, already has an established relationship from Kyrie from his days when he was at Nike. Doncic is and can be the best player. I can't have Kyrie as my best player. Now,
who are they going to guard, bro? How are they going to stop anybody?
How have they done it to this point?
Christian Wood, yes, and that's why they were out in the first round or second round.
Okay, if you're going to trade, you're trading Kyrie to the Lakers for who? And how are they going to be better defensively?
I think it's all bad, but I think the Lakers are desperate enough to do something crazy. Whereas I don't know if Dallas is Dallas is playing. Dallas feels like, and I mean, you can tell me if I'm wrong. We got the best player in the league for the next 10 years. Okay, so let's be smart in what we build. I don't love the Christian Wood deal just because I like the idea of Christian Wood, the actual Christian Wood. I think at high level basketball doesn't play any defense. He looks like he could be a small ball stretch five that can defend the rim, but he can't. So, and obviously, if Houston's trying to rebuild and they get rid of him, should kind of tell you something about a young guy who's been through that much.
Sure.
But I think Dallas is sitting there going like, wait, we have a long window with this guy. Let's get it right. And I don't know if Kyrie gets it right for you.
I'm not arguing with that. I wouldn't want Kyrie Irving on my team. I'm just looking at, and that's part of the problem here, which is Brooklyn doesn't want to give him a long-term contract. Who would? And which team of any quality would do that, that Kyrie Irving would be happy to go to? And to your point with the Lakers, maybe they're desperate enough to do that. But when we look at it and ask the question, would it actually work? I think we're all in agreement, no, it would not. It doesn't take you anywhere. This idea that, like, we're reuniting LeBron and Kyrie because of what they did 5 years ago. That's a long time ago. LeBron's not the same player. Kyrie's not the same player. And the Lakers collectively are not the same team as that Cleveland Cavaliers team. So other than that, yeah, you're going to recreate the wheel perfectly.
Fascinating. Truly fascinating.
There's no easy answers.
No, there's not. I'm like working it out in my head, and I'm with you. Brad Beal, he said he knows what he wants to do. What is it?
I don't know, but he's making it sound like I need to go someplace and play other than Washington, that I want to go someplace and play. Now, that runs counter. What he's hinting at runs counter to everything I've been told up to this point, which is kind of happy being the guy in Washington. Kind of happy if they just like, we're going to continue to try to make this right, but getting paid and being the main guy, like, he's been good with that. Now, whether somebody has gotten to him or whether he's now shamed to the point of, oh, I have to go play on a meaningful team, and his perspective has changed, I would say that's a real possibility. But I can't tell you definitively what he's thinking as far as staying or going. And again, I don't know how you feel, Doug, but like, I'm not sold that Bradley Beal is a championship caliber player. I think he's a very talented, very good player. Do I think he's the piece that puts a team over the top? Like if you traded Chris Middleton for Bradley Beal, which I've heard as a possibility
in a heartbeat,
does that make the Milwaukee Bucks better?
Yes,
without question.
Yes. I think Middleton is going to be classically underrated. They might have won another championship had he not been hurt.
Right.
So I don't think they do that. But yes, I think Bradley Beal is better than Chris Middleton, and I think Bradley Beal would fit perfectly well in that role.
I think Beal offensively would be better. I need to know that Beal is capable of defending
Great point.
At a championship level.
Great point.
Which Middleton was willing to do.
Sure. That makes complete sense.
Talent-wise, I'm with you. Talent-wise, Bradley Beal is a better player than Chris Middleton. Does he have the mindset to be a champion? It would be my question.
Ric Bucher joining us from Fox Sports Once, Doug Gottlieb Show here on Fox Sports Radio, talking all things NBA. What do you think this win does for Steph Curry's legacy?
Well, based on everything that I've seen over the last week, it has vaulted him into the top 10 all time, which I think is just a little quick and a little
reactive,
subject to prisoner of the moment reaction.
Yeah.
You know what it does is, for me, is it cements his legacy as a guy who's capable of infusing a championship mindset in other players. And I know that that's kind of nebulous and kind of an intangible thing, but to me, the fact that he was able to lead, not carry a championship in 2015, and then he was able to make it work. And I know that sounds funny saying make it work with KD, but made it work. Like, they worked through all the chemistry stuff. He made room for KD to be a star. He didn't have a problem with it, and took reaped the benefits from that. And now you come back and Draymond's not the same, and Klay Thompson's not the same, but you have an Andrew Wiggins and a Jordan Poole, and you find it when you tell Mike Brown and Steve Kerr, Kevon Looney's got to play. Like, what he demonstrated is how great and unique his leadership skills are. That's what he demonstrated here, because he basically took a new crew and he fashioned another championship team out of it, out of guys that previously to joining him didn't know what winning was all about. Andrew Wiggins didn't know what winning was all about. Jordan Poole surely didn't know what it took to win. And he showed all of these guys by example and by putting his confidence in them. And that sounds really simple and easy, but the number of stars or guys, players that have the talent that Steph Curry has and the humility and willingness to work with somebody else to lift them up, those are very rare. That's where, like, when it comes to talent, he's not in my top 10. If it's guys that I would start my franchise with, he might be in my top 5. Not because of the talent,
but because of everything
but his
else.
Ability to make everybody else better and lead them and accept them. That's where he's really special.
And he has a good time doing it, right? Like, that's
part of it.
I like
There's a joy in his game.
Yes,
there's a joy. Like Doug, I'm sure you've worked with somebody. I have. You know, you work with people and they're really great at their job, but they wear you out.
Yes.
Oh man, you can't appreciate what they do at some point because it's just such a slog. They don't enjoy what they're doing.
Nope.
Steph makes it fun. You want to go to work. You want to stay in the gym. You want to rebound and defend for him because he has that presence. And that, I don't know how you put a price on that. That's more a value. I mean, even with Jordan, you know, at some point he'd wear people out. Like, you know, he was. I've said it. Like we've got Jesus Shuttlesworth, Ray Allen. Jordan was the Black Jesus. To me, he was the Old Testament. and Steph is. We're going to talk about faith or whatever. Like a true Jesus. Steph Curry comes as close to that as any player I've ever seen.
No, he's remarkable. Does it take away from Kevin Durant that they won one without him?
No, I hate this revisionist history. Kevin Durant was so vital, instrumental. The role that he played, this idea that this is what I take great exception to. The idea that if this is proof, winning it this year is proof that Steph could have won the 2 years without KD. Now, would they have had cap room? Could they have added some pieces instead of KD? Yes. Could they have added a leading rebounder, a leading scorer, a guy who can get his shot at any time, a guy who became a very good defender? I think their leading shot blocker, if I'm not mistaken. Could they have gotten all that? No. So KD deserves every bit of what he accomplished with the Warriors. He deserved to be Finals MVP. Yep. He was the best player on that team.
Thank you. He was the best player on that floor. He was the best player on that floor. Best player on that floor for both those series. Yeah. And even the Toronto series changed in the short period of time that he was on the floor before he got hurt. So I'm with you.
Right.
I'm with you. Buke, thanks so much. We really appreciate it.